Hi guys, my name is Anna and today I'm going to do my 2015 book haul. So I've gathered a lot of books around now and I thought I'd share them with you with kind of like a kick-off beginning to 2015. So I'm going to jump right in. So my first book that I've gotten is In the Afterlife by Alexander Bracken. You've probably heard of this one by now considering the amount of hype that's been on BookTube over this entire series, the Darkest Mind series by Alexander Bracken. I've read the first book and I liked it, but I didn't love it quite as much as it seems like everyone else has. It's kind of a X-Men in the future where all these different kids from a certain generation, if they survive this plague, then they were given these different supernatural abilities, and they're categorized by the government by these different colors. Like yellow is for ability of electricity and blue is like telekinesis. It was really good, but I didn't love it quite as much as I'd hoped to, but I do really look forward to seeing how the series continues, and I have Never Fate, and then I got this baby, so I look forward to marathon reading all of these. The next book I have here is a collection of short stories, Grimm, all edited by Christine Johnson. There are a ridiculous amount of authors in here, so I'm not going to tell you every single itty-bitty name, but I want to tell you that my absolute favorite story out of all these short stories is Figment by Jerry Smith Reddy, and that is a retelling of Puss in Boots. It is so adorable. I cried and I laughed. I really loved that one. All these different short stories are new retellings of classic fairy tales. Another favorite one was like a Beauty and the Beast kind of modern retelling. That one was so hilarious where the, like a medieval world stopped running out of different jerks to pick to go through like the trials of being the Beast to have the Beauty, so they have resorted to going to other dimensions including ours and getting like a jerky guy in college, putting him in this place of this medieval world, and it is so hilarious seeing him being the Beast, and in the end he's not a terrible guy, and he comes around everything like the traditional story of Beauty and the Beast, and it was just so hilarious, and all the jokes of people not getting like, I really wish I had my Xbox, man, and things that were just so hilarious. I have to say my least favorite is Thinner Than Water by Sandra Mitchell. Not sure what story that is based off of, but I just wasn't a fan of the abusive father plotline that was in it. I'm pretty sure that she, defeats her father at the end, but I just wasn't a big fan of that one. I'm not sure what story that's a retelling of because I just skipped the majority of it. Like I skimmed the beginning and I skimmed the end because I just really wasn't interested in reading that entire thing. But I really love this one. The book itself is beautiful. I love the family tree with the different kind of symbols representing each of the different short stories in it. I love the pretty bookmark and the spine. It just looks great on my shelf. Next I have Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I initially listened to the radio play of this book and I absolutely loved it. It had James McAvoy playing the lead character Richard and then Natalie Dormer playing Dor, who is the second lead character, and I loved both of them. I love the story, which is kind of like this mythical alternate reality that's called the London Below, that is like essentially like in the sewers beneath, but it's kind of like this magical reality, and once you go down there you're kind of invisible and you're suddenly sucked out of the life where it's as if you never existed in the above. And it's about Richard, who is kind of this average Joe that gets pulled into this world trying to help Dor find out who murdered her parents. It's really good. It's classic Neil Gaiman with the kind of whimsy and humor, but with the darker elements in there as well. The only other Neil Gaiman book I've read is Stardust, and I really loved that one. I also loved the movie as well. I actually haven't gotten all the way through this book. I got about halfway, and then my library was like, you gotta give this back to us. Why are you taking so long to read this book, girl? So I had to give it back, and I'm really happy to have my own physical copy and be able to just sit it and reread this story whenever I want to. I really loved it. The next book I have is The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees Brennan, sorry I'm not pronouncing that correctly, and Maureen Johnson. I adore Magnus Bane. He's probably one of my just all-time favorite characters in any book series or anything. I love the fact that a book came out that was solely about him. I mean, how can you not love the sassy, kick-ass warlock? How can you not love him? He's hilarious, he's kind, and I feel like he was really the best parts out of all the rest of Cassandra Clare's books. I love The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, and he was still my favorite character in that series. And while I really was not a fan of The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare, I really hated the Jace Clary plotline, but I still read through them except for the very last book just to have Magnus. And I hope that I don't have to read the last book, City of Heavenly Fire, to be able to read all these books with Magnus. I will at some point to see, kind of what happens and how the story wraps up in that series. But I just really was not a fan of that series. But I'm really happy to have individual stories about my favorite character from the series. And I love kind of seeing how the other two authors play with him too. He is just one of my favorite characters. I mean, look at that face. How can you not love that face? And he can teleport you random chocolate from different places. I mean, how can you not love this guy? I know everyone else is like, I call Will Herondale. I'm like, fine, you can have Will Herondale, fine, all bases off, I'm getting Magnus. End of story. The next books I have here are books that I have already owned and reread over and over again and much loved. and they were loved so much that they kind of got destroyed. So I needed new copies of them, and that is the first 3 books of the Percy Jackson series by, you should all know by now, Rick Riordan. I love these books. These are the new covers because I never really was a fan of the original Percy Jackson covers, and I liked the redos. You have Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters, and finally you have Percy Jackson the Titan's Curse. I love all 3 of these books. I think the original favorite cover line of all the Percy Jackson books was the Titan's Curse, and I love this one here, Blackjack, this redo of it as well. I love the Percy Jackson series so much. It is so hilarious. I read it when I was younger. I really love these books, and I will eventually need to get the last 2 books in the series and to match this edition too. But for now, I'm going to have a mismatched series, but that's okay. I can live with it. I'm glad to have copies where the spine isn't all broken and cracked and the cover hasn't fallen off and the pages aren't ripped and torn apart. So I'm really happy I have these that I can reread again to my heart's content without worrying that they're going to break. Next, I have the duology John Dies at the End by David Wong, accompanied by This Book is Full of Spiders, Seriously Dude, Don't Touch It, also by David Wong. John Dies at the End follows these 2 just epitome of regular Joes, kind of slackers, John and Dave, and Dave ends up finding this crazy drug called the soy sauce from another alternate universe that's actually alive and can give them crazy abilities like to teleport, to travel through time, and all this kind of crazy stuff, and them trying to fight these different alien beings from different universes. It is hilarious. It is like a crazy on crack of a book. It is hilarious. There's a little bit of substance to it. You know, there are a few messages throughout, a little bit of social commentary, but overall this is just a hilarious, fun-filled ride. I absolutely love this one. I quote it all the time. It is so hilarious. And this is, thank God, not the movie cover. The movie was really just okay. It wasn't nearly as funny as the book was, but the reason why the book is so funny is because of the way it is worded, and it just didn't really translate that well to the movie. But the movie's still on Netflix, you know, if you want to watch it. It's not bad or anything. And I kind of love the severed hand thing going on with here. It's a lot better than the movie cover, which was just the 2 actors staring blankly into space. Don't we all hate movie covers, guys? Come on. The next book, This Full of Spiders, Seriously Dude, Don't Touch It, follows the adventures of Dave and John, and this time they end up getting caught up in an apocalypse, and in the apocalypse is caused by alien spiders that crawl up people's mouths and into their brains and take control. This one I didn't like quite as much because it was a bit darker. There weren't as many jokes, but I still enjoy continuing the characters and kind of this crazy world that they've created in this series. It's really fun to keep up with, and I hope that at some point I get another adventure from John and Dave. Next, I have the Ruby Red trilogy by Kirsten Gier. Probably not pronouncing her name correctly. Sorry about that again. I love this series. It's a contemporary series, but it has a time travel element in it, where the main character named Gwen finds out that she has the gene that will cause her to randomly time travel at a certain age. Her cousin was constantly prepped, thinking that she was the person who had this ability, and it turns out that it was her, along with solving like murder mysteries and people who were trying to abuse the power of the time travel. It's really interesting and really hilarious. There are talking ghosts and gargoyles, and it's really funny. It kind of has a contemporary vibe into it, but with having this, you know, really cool time travel element into it. I really love it. I've read the first one, Ruby Red. I prefer the hardcovers editions because they are like beautiful and they look like gems are engraved in it and everything. They're so pretty. And not that these are bad, but again, it's just kind of a standard girl in the dress. But this is the first book, Ruby Red. The second book, Sapphire Blue, that I'm halfway through. I need to finish. And then here's the final book, Emerald Green. I'm really looking forward to read through all of these. They're pretty lighthearted books, but they are really fun, and I'm glad I have all read again. So next I have a series where the books are kind of out of order, sorry about that, is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Here I have the prequel book, the third book, and the first book. So it took me forever to finally like get back into the series after I first read Throne of Glass, which I liked, but I didn't really love. Once I read The Assassin's Blade, which is a collection of novellas about the prequel of Selena, the assassin story, and set in this medieval world. I really fell in love with the story. This is where I really clicked with it. I felt like, in a way, you could start off with this one and be okay, because there are some things in Throne of Glass, and especially in the second book, Crown of Midnight. Crown of Midnight made no sense. I tried to read Crown of Midnight, a lot of the gaps in the plot line didn't make any sense, so I went back and I read this one first, and then everything clicked and I loved. So I definitely recommend either reading it in order, like chronologically, not pronouncing that correctly, of, you know, the prequel, then the first book, then the second book, or at least reading the first book, then this prequel here, and then the rest of the series, because you really need to know more about Selena's backstory and her relationship with her fellow assassin Sam, and her being in this Assassin's Guild, to really learn about her as a character and what she's been through. I really love this collection of novellas. It was really not even a collection of novellas though. It was more just like one huge prequel novel, just with a little bit of filler taken out to me. Everything blended perfectly together with one another, and it really told one story. There's really no reason for it to be sold as a collection of novellas. It was really just a novel without filler, and it's already pretty big anyways. Like, it really could have just been a novel on its own and forget this whole collection of novellas thing, really. It was fantastic. This cover is badass. I know you probably heard a lot of raving about the Throne of Glass series, but really read this book of Throne of Glass, and once you've read these two, you're pretty much gonna be hooked. So the next book I got was actually Throne of Glass. I got the hardcover, this edition of it, because I used to have the old ugly hardcover edition. It wasn't terrible, but it was just the girl facing the side with the dramatic holding the knife. And I mean, the girl looked like a supermodel who, could barely slap somebody if she wanted to. But this is badass. Come on, guys, look at this. She's holding her sword. She's ready to kick some ass. So I really loved having this original cover here. That will match all the rest of them on the pretty spines, and I love the illustrations of these covers so much. Then I have the third book in the series, which I'm currently reading, is Heir of Fire. I'm loving it so far, guys. Oh my god, all the different point of views and the way everything's coming together, learning more about the Fae and everything. It is so good, and I really love it, and I'm just so happy that I've got this third book and I'm reading through it, and I'm gonna freak out because I don't think there's a release date or anything for when the fourth book of this series comes out, and I'm gonna really hate to have to wait after I finish reading this one, so which probably just means marathon reread, you guys. So I haven't done this before in my book hauls, but maybe I can try and do the stacky thing that everyone does. I'm gonna try. Give me a second here. Hardbacks on the bottom, because how else is this gonna work? I can do this. Oh, it smells like books, which is nice, but I'm gonna kill myself. You can't even see the spines because I'm stupid. Okay, we're gonna put it down now. I'm so scared it's gonna fall. At least I have this desk here. Okay. No, you get some snacks in here. Ah, look! Oh my god, I have all of them. There's so many they're cutting out of the shot. Oh god, I can't go any higher. You're cutting off some of the Throne of Glass books at the bottom, but I totally got them all. Can I dance with them? Oh god, that ain't gonna happen. Bye, guys.